The once promising political career of Tiffany Henyard has taken a drastic and devastating turn, turning from a historic breakthrough as the first Black woman elected mayor of Dolton, Illinois, to a scandal marked by allegations of corruption, financial mismanagement, and a rapidly deteriorating public image. Initially hailed for breaking down barriers and inspiring change, her tenure quickly unraveled as mounting accusations of misconduct surfaced, leaving the community reeling. What should have been a period of progress for Dolton has instead been overshadowed by a number of controversies that have severely damaged the town's residents' trust, alleging that Henyard embezzled personal indulgence, including extravagant purchases that have shocked the community, includes a staggering $43,000 Amazon shopping spree in a single day. She is accused of misusing taxpayer funds, which has caused Dolton residents to question her priorities and judgment. Her records also show lavish spending on first-class flights, five-star hotel stays, and personal luxuries like a $110,000 stay at the Four Seasons Hotel in Atlanta. These revelations have cast a dark shadow over Henyard's leadership as the town, which was once hopeful for revitalization, now faces the reality that its mayor's actions have deepened its financial instability and critical projects have stagnated or been abandoned, and debt has skyrocketed under her administration. Initially in line with her vision for the town, trustees are now frantically trying to repair the harm caused by Hen's alleged actions. But the damage has already been done. Dolton's fiscal health, which appeared to be on the verge of improving, is now on the verge of collapsing, and Hen's actions have left the community with lasting scars. The consequences of her decisions go far beyond just money. Henyard's fall from grace has dealt a blow to the public's trust and the town's future. Instead, the promise of change has resulted in a fractured town burdened by the very decisions meant to inspire progress. Critics contend that her behavior has not only tarnished the office she holds, but also seriously damaged Dolton's fabric as residents struggle with the fallout from her decisions. Calls for accountability have increased, and demands for transparency have been made about how public funds were diverted for private benefit rather than being used to better the community. Her political future is now in jeopardy as legal investigations into her financial activities intensify. Her reputation as a trailblazer in local politics has been overshadowed by scandal, and her once promising leadership is now overshadowed by public outrage in the wake of her alleged misconduct. Dolton is on the verge of disillusionment, with its leadership's future uncertain and residents long for closure, and a return to integrity. Henyard's rise and fall serve as a stark reminder of the dangers inherent in a lack of oversight and a betrayal of public trust. As legal battles intensify and the town continues to suffer from the financial wreckage left in her wake, Henyard's legacy now stands as a stark reminder of how quickly leadership can fall, leaving deep scars on a community that once believed in change. Despite the overwhelming evidence against her and the growing demand for her resignation, Henyard has shown increasing defiance, refusing to cooperate with efforts to resolve Dolton's financial issues. Her persistent resistance to measures to curb the town's excessive spending, such as vetoing measures to impose stricter financial controls and bring in an independent auditor, has left the town's administration in a state of gridlock. This impasse has only increased public outrage, with town hall meetings becoming more heated, noisy protests breaking out in the streets, and social media campaigns calling for her immediate resignation. However, Henyard has remained steadfast, portraying herself as a misunderstood leader who has unfairly singled out her supporters in a series of strange public appearances. At one town meeting, Henyard reportedly arrived with, "The town's residents find themselves at a crossroads as Henyard's hold on power weakens." The town, once full of hope for a brighter future under her leadership, now faces an uncertain future with legal investigations underway and widespread calls for reform. Dolton stands on the brink of a critical turning point. The fallout from Henyard's actions may not only serve as a warning to others in positions of power, but also as an opportunity for the town to rebuild and move on. At one point, a golden microphone was an ostentatious gesture that stunned the audience. At another point, a DJ allegedly played Rihanna's "Bitch Better Have My Money" in an attempt to mock the gravity of the situation. Restore the faith of its residents in the end. Hen's dramatic fall from grace is a warning about the destructive power of unchecked leadership. It emphasizes the dangers of corruption and financial mismanagement, and it emphasizes the importance of accountability in public office as Dalton struggles with the consequences of her tenure. The hope is that the lessons learned from this dark chapter will inspire the reforms necessary to restore the community to its former strength. In recent weeks, the public's frustration with Tiffany Henyard has only grown as her bizarre antics and persistent failure to address the serious allegations against her have been heightened. Once a vocal supporter of Henyard's leadership, Dalton's trustees have now turned against her, expressing regret for their early support. In hindsight, they view their initial support as a mistake, especially as Henyard continues to avoid confronting the accusations leveled against her. Her strange actions, such as arriving at meetings with a golden microphone and allowing a DJ to play B********H Better Have My Money, have further alienated even her staunchest supporters due to her strange behavior. Denial about the consequences of her actions, further alienating the public and undermining confidence in her leadership. Meanwhile, there are rumors that Henyard may be trying to escape Dalton before facing legal repercussions. The FBI is focusing more on tracking her whereabouts, and her silence on important issues has raised concerns that she may try to avoid the consequences of her actions, adding another layer of uncertainty to the situation. What started as a political struggle has turned into a full-blown crisis that is characterized by her defiance, erratic behavior, and refusal to address the legitimate concerns of Dalton's residents and officials. Chaos characterized by financial difficulties and a general feeling of dysfunction as the town struggles with growing debt and deteriorating public services. Residents and officials are beginning to wonder if Henyard has any intention or ability to lead effectively, and as tensions increase, the likelihood of legal repercussions increases. Calls for accountability are also growing, and many people are afraid that the town may experience even more strife before it reaches a breaking point. As a result of Deputy Police Chief L.S. Lacey's indictment on charges of bankruptcy fraud, suspicions about Henyard's leadership. The development has sparked worries that Henyard may be more deeply involved in corruption than previously believed, pointing to a possible pattern of financial misconduct within her administration. As public and legal pressure mounted, Dalton's trustees took immediate action to limit Henyard's influence. They tightened financial controls, denied her access to local credit cards, and initiated an unbiased investigation into her financial dealings. However, Henyard fiercely opposed these efforts, blocking any attempts to bring in independent audits or external scrutiny of her administration. Her refusal to be transparent has worsened the crisis, further undermining confidence in her leadership. Given Dalton's already precarious situation, the town's infrastructure is continuing to deteriorate due to financial strain, and concerns about the future of essential public services are growing. If Dalton's financial health continues to deteriorate, key personnel and services could be at risk, heightening fears about the town's ability to recover. Her defiance has effectively paralyzed the town's government as her opposition to reforms undermines the trustees' efforts to stabilize the administration. Attempts to create an emergency budget to address urgent fiscal concerns have been delayed or blocked, leaving residents increasingly concerned about the town's future. As the situation becomes more tense, trustees and residents are wondering if Henyard is considering drastic measures to escape the escalating scrutiny. Many fear that she might attempt to flee before facing the full consequences of her actions. The uncertainty surrounding her leadership and the possibility of her evading accountability have left Dalton in a state of limbo, with the community unsure whether she will face the consequences of her alleged financial trouble. Lastage's attempts to cling to power or avoid accountability have sparked speculation about whether she is actively working to shield herself from legal action, misconduct, or whether the town will face even more hardship before this crisis is resolved. The FBI's investigation into Tiffany Henyard has gotten more intense, indicating the gravity of the accusations against her. Federal authorities are closely examining the entirety of her financial activities in an effort to ascertain the extent of any potential misconduct for Dalton residents. This investigation gives residents hope that justice will ultimately prevail, but it is unclear when or if legal action will be taken against Henyard, leaving the community in a state of limbo as Dalton continues to deal with the crisis of governance and public trust. The tragic combination of political and personal events resulting from Hen's actions has. As the community struggles with the fallout, residents are deeply worried about the future of their town and are closely monitoring the investigation in the hopes that it will bring clarity and resolution to the chaos that has engulfed Ton. However, the likelihood of Hen's eventual removal from office is growing, and the damage caused by her administration leaves lingering questions about whether the town can recover for the time being. Hen's tenure appears to be on the brink of collapse. Her steadfast opposition to reform, mounting legal troubles, and resistance to public oversight. Accountability has brought Dalton closer to financial and political collapse, but it's still unclear if Henyard will be held accountable for her actions before resigning or if more community upheaval will be required to fully expose the extent of her alleged misconduct. As Dalton residents eagerly await the conclusion of this dramatic story, the investigation is getting more intense and public pressure is increasing, putting Dalton's future in jeopardy. Justice appears to be turning, but its timing and outcome are still unknown. Tiffany Henyard's election as Dalton's first African-American woman mayor in 2021 was hailed as a historic and hopeful milestone, a turning point for a town plagued by long-standing. With promises of community-driven projects, economic revitalization, and effective management of Dalton's pressing issues, her election seemed to be bringing about a wave of optimism. Her popularity skyrocketed as her administration gained recognition for what appeared to be progressive initiatives, but within 2 years, the hopeful narrative began to unravel. What had begun as a journey of inspiration quickly turned into a chaotic tale of scandal allegations and mismanagement that more closely resembled a reality TV drama than the orderly governance of a small town. By 2022, the cracks had become unavoidable, and reports of financial misconduct had made it impossible to ignore the Henyard administration. Allegations of fiscal irresponsibility and extravagant personal spending engulfed our government, causing widespread disillusionment. These include extravagant purchases like first-class flights and luxury hotel stays, as well as a $43,000 one-day Amazon shopping spree that infuriated locals. Henyard also vetoed measures intended to enforce financial accountability and prevented the hiring of outside auditors, further escalating suspicions about her actions and intentions. Her one base of support started to disintegrate, with even former allies on the town's board of trustees becoming some of her harshest critics. By that time, Dalton's administration was in complete disarray, and the town itself was facing public trust had been undermined by a number of issues, such as deteriorating infrastructure and a worsening financial crisis, to the point where town hall meetings had turned into arenas of confrontation. Demonstrations became louder, and social media campaigns called for Henyard's resignation. The chaos was further compounded by Henyard's increasingly erratic behavior at official meetings, where she'd appeared with a golden microphone and let a DJ play Rihanna's "Bitch Better Have My Money" gestures, which Drew mocked and frustrated. Rather than supporting these antics, this only served to further alienate her constituents, raising questions about her suitability as a leader and reinforcing the idea that she was out of touch with the needs of the town. Despite the scandal surrounding her, the FBI's increasing investigation into her financial activities cast an ever-deepening shadow over her leadership. She seemed determined to hold onto power, portraying herself as a misunderstood champion of the people being attacked by critics. She branded herself as a super mayor, but her grandiose behavior and rhetoric alienated even more of her supporters, prompting further speculation about her ability to lead effectively. Rumors about Henyard's possible ties to Deputy Police Chief Els Lacey, who was indicted for bankruptcy fraud, fueled further concerns. These connections raise questions about the level of corruption in her administration, raising concerns about the extent of corruption in her administration. The trustees rushed to limit Henyard's influence, implementing strict financial controls, revoking her access to local credit cards, and initiating partial inquiries into her financial dealings in response to her growing defiance. However, Henyard's persistent resistance to outside scrutiny and continued blocking of attempts to introduce reforms created a governance gridlock that further exacerbated Dalton's financial woes, destabilized essential services, and pushed the town deeper into crisis territory. This suggests that the leadership may be even more involved in misconduct than previously believed. Residents are watching the ongoing investigation with a mixture of frustration and hope, but they are still unsure of what the future holds. The town they had imagined as being revitalized and flourishing under Henyard leadership has instead turned into a symbol of mismanagement as Dalton struggles to recover. The town's future is still in jeopardy because of Henyard's defiance and the town's crumbling infrastructure, which put Dalton at risk of further disintegration. Tiffany Henyard's rise and fall, once heralded as a beacon of hope and progress, has turned into a vortex of scandal and controversy as mounting evidence of financial malfeasance and management continues to surface. Her former supporters have turned against her, frustrated by her refusal to address or acknowledge the growing allegations. The situation has left the town divided, with many residents and officials hoping for justice as the saga unfolds. However, others are unsure whether Henyard will face the consequences of her actions as a result of the investigation into the case. Thornton Township Henyard's supervisor had considerable power over 2 local government departments, which only increased public mistrust when it became apparent that she put her own interests ahead of Dalton's and Thornton Township's progress. Instead of using her position to promote progress, Henyard has been accused of corruption and reckless spending, which has led to heated confrontations with both Dalton and Thornton Township trustees, who have criticized her behavior and blamed her leadership for much of Dalton's financial problems. The administration has been shaken by allegations of excessive personal spending, travel expenses, and an opaque budgeting process, which has alarmed both trustees and residents. Responsible for Dalton's insolvency and complaints from Thornton Township trustees also raised concerns about a troubling pattern of financial irresponsibility throughout Henyard's jurisdiction. Reports of dubious financial practices and extravagant spending habits have stoked rumors that Henyard went from being a leader who was once seen as a transformative force to one who was overtaken by power and corruption as financial distress increased and public trust eroded. As a result, Henyard's initial aspirations for change were overshadowed by scandal. This change from a symbol of potential transformation to a contentious, embattled figure has left a trail of disillusionment and resentment, with many residents now wondering how a tenure that started with so much promise could turn into allegations of abuse, mistrust, and poor management. Henyard's response to the unrest has been characterized by a combination of denial and defiance. She has adamantly defended her choices and accused critics of undermining her efforts. However, this refusal to face the seriousness of the situation has only made her allies more distant from her and emboldened her opponents. Growing discord within her administration, along with public outrage, has left Henyard's position increasingly precarious. What started as a hopeful period of progress has turned into a storm of accusations, and her tenure is now a warning about lost opportunities and the perils of unaccountable leadership for Dalton and Thornton Township. The fallout has not been resolved, and locals are left fearfully wondering if justice will be done or if Henyard will stick to her death. Science's position until the end of her term, her legacy is now marred by controversy, serving as a grim reminder of what happens when public trust is neglected. Until we meet again, thanks for watching Visual Vortex.